Hey all, here are OS Reviews. A few months back, we did a review on the Caesar Aura, a smart scanner that's also in the form of a table lamp that takes up very little space, can automatically flatten the images that it takes, and just has a pretty clever concept that's powered by machine learning, machine vision. Well, now we're seeing more and more competitors, and the version that we're seeing today is from iCodis. You may have heard of this name before. They make lots of projectors. It's called the Megascan Pro X7, and it has a 15 megapixel sensor, which is going to be slightly higher resolution than some of the Caesar models that we've seen. It also sells for about the same price. Like the Caesar Aura, I do like the concept a lot because it takes up much less space than a traditional scanner, and it's also going to be higher resolution with smarter software than using your phone's camera, for example. We have the instructions and the software CD on top. Now, it does seem like some of the software features are exclusive to Windows. We have also a rollable mat here, which is black. This is exactly the same as with the Caesar Aura, so essentially you lay this flat on the surface and then you put the paper or book on top of it to scan so that the camera will pick up the object more clearly. Everything the black background will be discarded. We've got a USB/power cable, a separate little part that you can use as a button to take scans, so you don't have to keep on pressing a key on your computer or laptop. So this is also the same as the Caesar Aura. They use a foot pedal. Now here we have the iCodis Megascan itself, which upon first impressions is a lot more compact than the Caesar Aura, so that is going to be a pro if you're very light on space. The base here that says iCodis is coated in a soft touch rubber material and weighted so it doesn't fall over. On the rear here we have the connection cables. The arm here is constructed out of a aluminum alloy material, so it does feel quite sturdy and premium, and the overall kind of design is still quite sleek and modern. So taking a closer look at the setup here, one thing I like about this mat compared to the other version is that it does have some labels for the sizes of standard pieces of paper, including where kind of the center of the scanning will begin. Edges of paper should be aligned in order for them to be captured perfectly. And then there's also kind of an area here that you can see is where you should pop on the scanner. As for the hinge, we do have only one adjustable angle, so I can kind of pull it upwards, as you can see there, and it just stays in this one orientation or spot. The inside here is made out of a soft touch rubber material, so whenever you close up the lid, it doesn't kind of damage it, doesn't scratch anything. And the camera lens, as you can see here, protrudes a little bit, so it kind of cleverly can be inserted onto here and still lie completely flush. So taking a closer look here, we just have the 15 megapixel sensor, and we have the array of LEDs that dubs as lighting, and also kind of using it as a desk lamp. What's also neat is, although there are no controls on the base of the unit, if you look very closely on the top of the arm here, there is a very small button. It's basically a flick that you can tap on to turn on or off the light. Now here's a size comparison. It's quite obvious now how much smaller the iCodis Megascan is. Though the interesting thing here is once they are fully opened, you can see that their height are actually about the same. So coming over to the computer, the application is called CamShop. You can also control the orientation of the camera. You can zoom in and zoom out. Bottom here does show the resolution that it's going to be using, and it seems like for capturing video at least, it only goes up to 2 megapixels, so definitely not the highest in terms of the detail, but it suffices, I'd say, in terms of just quickly giving a lecture or a presentation. But in terms of the images, it does go all the way up to 15 megapixels. Briefly returning to the Megascan here, if we turn on the lamp, you can see this is as bright as it gets. So it's sufficient if you have other lights turned off in the room for doing things like getting some very quick reading done, and obviously enough to do some scanning, but it's by no means the most bright lamp that we've ever seen. Now the little click key, as you can see here, also has an LED light, which is a nice addition that the Aura lacks. So you can tap on it once it turns green, it's going to save an image. You can hear that there's also a sound, a clicking shutter key that is on the laptop. We see that in fact the edges have been successfully found, and again, if we tilt the orientation slightly and adjust it, it will also try to lock into the correct placement as well. Let's try doing a quick scan of that by clicking on the key, and it's now going to save that, as you can see here, as 2 halves. As you can see, it is very detailed, which is good to see. We have both the left side and the right side separated as 2 pages, as we can see there. There is some slight kind of flattening that still needs to be handled, I think, on this right side of the page, but the left side does seem to be pretty good. The camera here is technically autofocus, so you can tap on the focus button here to kind of adjust the focus if nothing is sharp, and you can also do things like crop it manually. If you don't want to rely on this auto border, you can actually drag it around yourself, but the recognition of edges does seem to work pretty well for the most part. Now, as for the barcode mode, it doesn't seem to necessarily zoom into only the region that has the barcode, but instead scans the entire part, so that's maybe somewhere that you need to crop yourself. But in this particular mode, you are able to scan in primarily 1D codes. You're also able to export it as not only kind of a JPEG, but it also tries to export it as an Excel document, so it will try and parse through and keep only the codes for the kind of barcode pin. And by the way, it saves all of the images that we've captured as a sequence on the side here so that we can export all of them as one document, which is going to contain multiple pages, or we can separate them and export them as separate documents as well. So if we tap on this image here, we can take a closer look, and you can see here it's captured in full color pretty well. There are still areas here which are a little bit overexposed. Another reason might be because of the mode that we've selected. The original color mode might work a little bit better. So if we capture a shot here and try to compare those two, we can see indeed it's actually a lot better. Now it seems like this glossy page has been flattened. It almost seems matte, and everything in terms of detail is much easier to observe compared to that enhanced color mode, as you can see there, which is a lot kind of glossier, colors are more saturated, but it also washes out certain regions compared to the standard color mode. Now, part of the reason why we maybe saw a little bit of issues with the book scanning mode is because they do recommend that you flatten the pages a little bit by applying some pressure instead of leaving it completely as is for the best effect. That means your thumb can actually be placed on the left and right sides on this region, and it will not really disrupt the page. It will try and crop that out automatically. But if you leave everything as is, as you saw in our test, some of the kind of flattening was a little bit off. And here we have the file basically exported as a PDF. You can see the images are just separated onto different pages, including the text on the first one. You can change the order around when you're still editing it, and everything works pretty well. You can highlight, you can drag it around. As a PDF, you're able to also search through keywords, and so all of this works pretty well. Alright, so that's more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the iCodis Megascan X7. Overall, I would say as a smart scanner, it does work well enough when it comes to the implementation, the software, installing very quickly, the ability for you to crop, as well as very quickly capture images. The recognition of edges is done very well, and the exporting, everything is very fast, simple, and straightforward. Although the software, to be completely honest, I do think is slightly rougher compared to the Caesar Aura's software, which perhaps the machine vision and the handling of flattening pages on books, at least in my opinion, is done a little bit more nicely. On this, it still requires you to press down a little bit, but the results are still fair. As far as the design of the hardware, I do like the scanner itself a little more than the Aura when it comes to being more compact, being made out of more premium metal materials, and just looking a little more elegant. So if you're looking for a more portable unit that is smaller than the Caesar Aura and also has a lot of potential, that works pretty nicely when it comes to doing quick scans, it's going to be faster and more professional than using your phone, for example, this is a nice option to take a closer look at. That's been the iCodis Megascan X7. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.